attention again. Ignore the lazy bear or I'll lock you out of your screens. Your also big assignment, lazy bear is due before you leave class today. Your big assignment is to make a magazine cover. This is your midterm project. You have the rest of day today, and next week is entirely lab. So when you're here next week, all 4 hours are yours to work. The magazine cover is due by the end of class at noon. Okay, so you've got a lot of time to work on this. This is your midterm. You're going to utilize all the skills you've learned so far, and you're going to show them off, and you're going to make cool stuff. Critical thinking skills. You know what that means? Anyone? I'm not going to give you a list of directions. I'm not going to answer every question you have if it's something you should know and it's in your book or you can Google it. If you're stuck, I'm absolutely going to help you, but if you ask for help beyond what's logical, it's a midterm, okay? This is I told you you don't have tests in here. If you'd rather take a paper test for your midterm, let me know, but I think you'd rather do this. So, critical thinking skills and creativity to create a final project that's portfolio worthy, meaning perhaps this is something that you're so proud of that if you have an interview, you say, this is what I made in Photoshop. You'll probably learn more over the next 3 semesters and tweak it, but it tends to be a pretty cool piece. So, assume that this is the cover of a magazine such as People or Entertainment Weekly. Plan your layout accordingly. You must sketch out your plan first, and your sketch must be submitted in class. So, today, if you want to work on it, or at the start of class next week, I need to see a sketch of how your magazine cover is going to look before you start building it. And your final product should look like that. You can tweak, it can be better or more involved, but I want you to think on paper first, like you do of, ideas and design fundamentals, kind of sketch it out. So, the finished trim size must be 7 7/8 inches by 10 7/16. Okay, this is a real magazine. I looked this up. What that means is when they cut it down, this is the size of your cover. But if we want to have a full bleed with the color going off it, remember we talked about that? It has to be bigger, right? You have to have 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And your color goes all the way out here. They take a cutter and they cut off all these pieces like this so that your color bleeds off perfectly. Guess what? If you have type that's really close to the bottom here, it can get cut off. So you should also kind of think about having a 1/8 inch safe zone where anything that's important, like words and letters, are inside of that. Okay? This is where it's going to get cut down to, but just to be safe, in case paper shifts or anything, kind of keep your type inside. Don't get it right up to the edge. So if you have to add 1/8 and 1/8, 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8. I hate math. 2/8 is the same as 1/4 of an inch, right? So whatever this is, you're adding 1/4 of an inch total to the width and 1/4 of an inch total to the height. Okay? Oh, good. That's going to be your document size. All right. Your original file created at 300 DPI, high res. Okay? I want you to find an image on the web that will serve as your primary image, but you must use a minimum of 3 total images. So think of like People magazine, where they have all the different stuff going on, or Entertainment Weekly, or whatever magazine. It can be a fake one. You can make one up if you're really into snowboarding and you want to make up a snowboarding, but it has to have a minimum of 3 images. Okay? Some of the images you find are going to be low res and aren't going to work on your 300 DPI. You're going to need to upsize them as needed. We just did that today, right? You take it to a higher percentage and you choose one of those special drop downs, bicubic sharpener or whatever, not sharpener, enlargements. Adjust the images as you see fit using all the cool techniques you've learned so far. So color balance, levels, curves, saturation. Make them look like they fit together. Some are going to be really bright from a sunny picture and some are going to be dark. Make it look good, like a finished magazine cover. Non-destructive workflow, meaning when I open your PSD, I darn well better be able to see masking, adjustment layers, special filter effects, things that can turn on or off, non-destructive editing. I don't want to see a picture and then your next layer up is a transparent background with like a floating dog, because that dog is permanently cut out of its background. There is no changing of it. That's destructive, right? Whereas if you bring the dog in and then mask out all around it, at least if your editor says, hey, there was a cat sitting next to that dog, I want the cat also, you just change your mask and the cat comes back, right? Filters, apply them. All of your filters are always editable, or not filters, all of your adjustment layers. Filters sometimes aren't non-destructive unless you make your layer a smart object first. Then the filter gets applied as a smart filter. Okay. Remember to include all necessary information on the cover of a magazine. Dates, prices, do some research. What are you going to find on the cover of People magazine typically, besides the word people? Guess. Anyone?
Date.
Date. Quite often it's got the date, if it's a weekly or a monthly publication. What else might be on there? What? Headline text. Yep. What else?
Shelf price.
Price. How much are you going to pay for it? Sometimes there's a barcode. Sometimes it just says a price. Sometimes, like National Geographic, will have a volume, like they're, volume 1, volume 12, whatever. So whatever magazine you come up with, do some research as to what's normal for that magazine. If you fake a magazine, I'm still going to want a date and a price on it. You can't tell me that those two things don't exist in your world. Okay? So do some research. So this project is due by the end of class next week, Monday the 28th. But here's some things. I want you working on the whole thing as a 300 DPI high-res image at that size. It's going to be a big file, right? It's going to be a beautiful big file. You're going to upload a high-resolution, print-ready CMYK PDF. What the heck is that? We've never done that before. Let's do that, okay? So in Photoshop, let's do, let's see, File, New. If you want to follow along with this exactly, go ahead. From the new documents, if you work in the print workspace, you're going to be working in high resolution in 300. And from here, you can customize it and make your width and height be exactly what we need it to be. Let's just say that an 8.5 by 11 is what I want the trim size to be, but we want a full bleed on it. So what is our width? What width should I set up? Not 8.5. I need to add 1/4 of an inch, right, to get an 1/8 and an 1/8. Yep, so 8.75, and then instead of 11, I need to add 1/4 of an inch to get an 1/8 all around, so 11.25. And then I would say create. Now what I would do if I were you is I would bring in your guidelines, and at an 1/8 of an inch, I would put one. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. And then at an 1/8 of an inch, quit that, I would put in your other one. And top and bottom. Remember, you can drag these in or you can manually type in the exact numbers. And then remember, I also mentioned that safe zone. So this is what's going to get cut. Let's just put a color background on this so we can see. Let's pretend that red is our background color and do a Option Delete to fill it with your background color. Now you would have a full bleed red background, and when the commercial printer gets this file, they're going to cut it where we see our guidelines. So the color is going to bleed right off the edge. It's going to be printed on a bigger sheet of paper and then cut down. The other thing you might want to remember is that safe zone. So when you're writing text, just going to put some in here, blah, 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 blah. Right. You guys had that psychology class yet, where they ring the bell? Do you guys keep hearing that? Pavlov's dog or something? I don't know. I hear it all the time.
Is that what I'm selling?
I don't know. So if this is your type, just remember that you don't want it up at the very, very edge here like this, because at those guidelines, that's where the paper is actually going to be cut. If it's off by an eighth or even less, your words are going to be cut off. So a lot of magazines will say, keep it in 1/8 of an inch like a safe zone, or even bigger. So never have type that close. If you want a picture to bleed off an edge, so let's just say I'm going to grab Lazy Bear here. If I want that to literally bleed off, I would have to position it like this so that there's a little bit of the color that bleeds off. Let me zoom into that corner. Where my guidelines are, that's where it's going to get trimmed. So that's okay. You can have pictures or images bleeding off also, but never have your type that close. So at this point, I'm going to do a File, Save As, and what I have is a high-res PSD, and this is just going to be my test magazine file. And if I look at it, it is, I'm going to switch that to inches. It's a little bit bigger than 8.5 by 11 at high-res 300 DPI. It's a big file. It's 25 megs already, and I've done virtually nothing to it. To make the high-res PDF, which is something that you would end up sending to a printer, a couple things have to happen. Let's look at our color space. Go under Image, Mode, and remember when we work on a computer, we're always in RGB mode. So the very last step, when your magazine cover is done and perfect and you're ready to turn in stuff for Blackboard, just so you know, you're going to give me two things. You are going to give me a PSD, but it's going to be downsized to 72 dots per inch, so it's not ginormous. But I do want you to make a high-res PDF first. So something you would send to the commercial printer has the bleed like we've already done, but then we're going to switch it to CMYK color. That's the color that inks print with. And it says, okay, do you want to flatten this or not? For now, we're going to say, no, don't flatten it. I don't want that. And then it warns you that you're switching to CMYK, and you can say okay to that. So now we have it in the CMYK color space. I can see up at my tab here, it says that, CMYK. To make a PDF, you're going to go to File, to make sure this hasn't changed. Yep. File, Save As, and then in your drop-downs, instead of telling it to be a Photoshop document, we are going to choose a PDF. Photoshop PDF. We don't want layers. It can be one flattened thing that we're sending to our printer, so turn the layers off and say Save. Then you get this PDF save area. And this is where you can tell it what kind of a PDF you want it to be. And in the presets, if you look at that, we have high quality print, and then we have a few other options. We have press quality and smallest file size. So if you just want to send your client a PDF and you want it to be a small file, something easy to email, you would choose that bottom one, and it's going to give you a low, it's going to turn this into a 72 dot per inch low res PDF that's easy to mail around. However, when you send it to a commercial printer, they're going to tell you they either want it to be high quality print or press quality. We're going to choose press quality, and then if you want to see what those presets did, you can look at them individually. So in compression, it's saying you can downsample images that are higher than 450 pixels per inch to 300. That's still high res. However, if we had picked smallest file size, it's going to say, I want you to downsample to 100 pixels per inch. So that's how the preset's changing it. So change it to press quality, click Save PDF, and you're going to have a PDF version saved in that same folder. That's the one that I want you to upload to Blackboard. That way I'm going to see a high res, something that a printer would see, a commercial printer. I'm going to see that version in high res. I got to go back to Blackboard quick. So a high resolution, print ready CMYK PDF. That's one thing you're going to upload. Then you're going to go back to your original Photoshop document that's still in RGB color mode. That's fine. You've built it at 300. Before you give me that PSD, I want you to downsize it to 72. Allow that resample box on so that pixels can be thrown away. It's going to go from probably 200 megs down to 10, okay? Because these are going to be big files. Make sure, just because you change it to 72 dots per inch, make sure your file size is still like 8.5 by 11 or whatever that number is, not 50 inches by 75 inches, because that's not going to be any smaller. It's going to be a ginormous file. And then artist statements. You guys have been doing them with Mary, design statements in Design Fundamentals. You're going to attach that as a Word document, or you can do it right in the message box in Blackboard. In your artist statement, you're going to tell me the process you went through, the feelings that you're hoping to invoke. I'm looking for some detail in this artist statement. So not your technical steps. Don't tell me I changed color balance to plus 39 on red. I don't want to know that. Tell me, in order to get these images to all look right together, I had to change the color balance on this one to be more red and on this one to be less red. I changed the opacity to make this layer blend. Tell me things that you did like that. What were you hoping to accomplish? Why did you choose the images you did? And why did you apply the effects? So just kind of explain to me, walk me through the process of what you did and why. So this is a 100-point project. You're going to get 60 points of it because you demonstrate awesome Photoshop skills that you've learned, proper sizing, attention to detail. You're going to get 20 points for your artist statement. If you forget your artist statement, you're at 80 out of 100, which is a C. Don't forget your artist statement. Make it answer these questions. And then you're also getting 20 points for challenge. So if it's a red background with 3 pictures that are squares, nothing's even composited out, and it's boring and simple, you're not going to get a lot of creativity points. This is typically a pretty fun project. People enjoy doing this. Again, it can be a fake magazine of your choice, or it can be a real one. So do you have any questions on this project? Yes, I do. I don't know where they are right now. I'm trying to think, because quite often they were hanging up in here, but I guess I've taken them all down. I'll put some in Blackboard. I'll just upload some images so you can look at previous examples. But remember, I'm going to look at your PSD file mainly and see, how you did things. Did you use masking, non-destructive, adjustment layers, filters, opacity? Did you change the blending mode to get some cool effects? Whatever. Type. The masthead, the name of the magazine. Don't go find it as an image and put it in there. Try to recreate it. Type it in a font that looks like it. Bevel it. Drop shadow it. Stroke, whatever. All these cool things you learned. Do something cool with your title also. Okay?
Does it matter, like when we're doing the sketch, can we be finding the pictures and stuff as we're putting the sketch together? I know you wanted us to create.
Yeah, you can kind of brainstorm and come up with some ideas, like these are the pictures I'm going to use, but kind of get a basic, like if your sketch is National Geographic and here's a mountain and a dog, and what you turn into me is People magazine, then you want totally, like, I want you to think about it on paper first. Yes, I know things change sometimes as you're working, and I promise you this is the reality for me. As I'm working the layout that I think I like, as I start moving stuff around, I end up liking other things way better. That's fine. That's the design process. But I want you to have an idea to start. Okay? And that sketch does need to be turned into. Any other questions? Yes?
About the bear project, like, you've got to use another background. Like, do you just apply the background to the bear itself, or do you apply the bear to the background?
Put the bear on the new background and then mask the bear out so you can see the background behind. Just like we did with the other bear.
Yeah, so like the original image is still there, but
Correct. Yep.
got it.
I should be able, the lazy bear, when I get that file from you, I should see that you've masked lazy bear out and put him on a new background. So lazy bear is due before you leave class, unless that proves to be not enough time. I'm thinking it is, but if it isn't, if I see that a bunch of you are still working, I'll change that. Magazine cover is due at the end of class next week, 100% lab time, work time. You'll be uploading everything to Blackboard and printing out a color copy. So, okay. Go ahead and